Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Nexus Insights. My name is Emeka Ofoma, and this is our special report. It is 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point. No missiles needed to fly, no blockade needs to be declared. Simply, the possibility of disruption is enough to reprice all markets, spike insurance premiums, and reroute the global flow of energy. The Strait of Hormuz is not just a waterway. It is the world's most consequential pressure point, and it just proved that again. Every few years, a crisis in the Middle East reminds the world of a vulnerability it has never fully resolved. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow passage between Iran and Oman connecting the Persian Gulf to the open ocean, is the compression point where energy markets, maritime security, and state power converge. In 2025 and 2026, that reminder came again. Israeli strikes on Iran triggered market repricing before a single barrel was physically lost. A cargo ship struck near Oman sent oil prices climbing, even though a cargo ship struck near Oman sent oil prices climbing, even as analysts judged a full closure unlikely. And in the aftermath, tanker rates nearly doubled, insurance premiums remained elevated, and Gulf traffic stayed below pre-conflict norms for weeks. What has returned is not simply fear of a supply cut, it is something more complex. A war premium attached to uncertainty itself, and understanding it means understanding why the global economy remains structurally hostage to 33 kilometers of contested waters. The numbers define the stakes. In 2025, approximately a quarter of the world's seaborne oil trade passed through the Strait of Hormuz. Over 110 billion cubic meters of LNG transited the same passage. Roughly 80% of that oil was bound for Asia. Nearly 90% of that LNG went to Asian buyers. That concentration is the vulnerability. It is not just crude oil at risk, it is refined products, LPG, fertilizer feedstocks, and industrial materials. A disruption at Hormuz doesn't just raise pump prices. It travels through supply chains into food costs, manufacturing inputs, and inflation expectations across 3 continents. And the bypass options remain dangerously limited. Saudi Arabia and the UAE operate crude pipelines that can reroute some exports around the strait, but their combined capacity falls well short of normal Hormuz flows. For LNG, there is effectively no alternative route. Qatari and Emirati volumes either pass through Hormuz or they don't move at all. What's changed in recent years is how markets respond to Hormuz risk. In earlier crises, the central question was simple: will barrels be physically lost? Now, the premium is layered and more persistent. Markets are no longer pricing just the risk of closure. They are pricing delay, rerouting, storage uncertainty, discounting cargoes, and the possibility that barrels simply can't reach refiners on predictable schedules. And that is why all benchmarks can sit near pre-crisis levels while the underlying logistics remain severely stressed. The headline price hides the real damage happening in freight markets, insurance contracts, and refinery planning. The world has known about this vulnerability for 50 years. It has never fully resolved it because doing so would require a level of investment, coordination, and political will that tends to materialize only in crisis and then fade when the immediate pressure subsides. The question the events of 2026 leave open is whether this time it will be different, whether the disruption will be remembered long enough to drive the infrastructure investments, diversification strategies, and the multilateral frameworks that might finally reduce what one choke point can cost the entire world. History suggests that the answer is probably no. The war premium will ease, attention will move elsewhere, and the strait will remain exactly what it has always been: 33 kilometers that the global economy cannot afford to ignore and has never quite figured out how to secure. For deeper geopolitical analysis and strategic intelligence on emerging global conflicts, visit nexusinsights.org.